Introduction to CSS Letter Spacing. CSS controls layout, colors, fonts, and other stylistic aspects of a website or web application. The property letter spacing in CSS is used to adjust the space between characters in a text. Understanding CSS letter spacing. Letter spacing property in CSS controls the space between characters. It is useful to adjust the space for design or readability reasons. The default value of letter spacing is normal, which allows the browser to determine the space. An example of using letter spacing, P letter spacing 2px. It increases the space between letters in the paragraph by 2 pixels. How to use CSS letter spacing. Letter spacing can be set using specific lengths defined in pixels, px, em, or rems rem. It can also be set to normal, which specifies the default spacing. Example of setting letter spacing, H1, letter spacing 0.2 em. It increases the space between the letters in the H1 element by 0.2 em. Common pitfalls and tips. Overuse of letter spacing can lead to an unpleasant reading experience. It's necessary to find a balance that suits the design without sacrificing readability. Avoid using a letter spacing value that is greater than 0.12 em. CSS allows for negative letter spacing, which can be useful in some design situations, but excessive use can cause letters to overlap. Use negative letter spacing sparingly to avoid overlapping and unreadability. Recommended to use em or rem units for letter spacing rather than pixels, as they are relative to the font size, making the letter spacing responsive and consistent across different screen sizes. Conclusion: the CSS letter spacing property is a powerful tool for fine-tuning the visual appeal and readability of a website or web application. However, it should be used thoughtfully and sparingly to avoid detracting from the user experience. Using relative units like em or rem for letter spacing can ensure a consistent and responsive design across different screen sizes.